Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, and today I have a wedding to officiate. Alright, a food wedding to officiate. Now, let's just pretend that our groom is this very handsome Italian man, and our bride is this beautiful Jewish girl. They're getting married on their wedding day, and we're gonna have an amazing wedding ceremony with amazing wedding food. Do you see where I'm going with this wedding theme? We're gonna be talking about a soup that many people know called, well, Italian wedding soup. Italian wedding soup is a staple and steeped into so many Italian households, and not even just Italian households, like many households. I love this stuff too. But now our Jewish bride is coming into the picture, and she's gonna sprinkle some Jewish flair into that Italian wedding soup. So instead of having mini meatballs in the soup, she's gonna put, did you guess it? Mini matzo balls. And now we're gonna name it Jewish wedding soup. Oi gewalt tata shenu. This is going to be a wedding you're not gonna wanna miss. You're gonna be dancing the tarantella and having a gila at the same time. Guys, I am so excited to present to you the most amazing Jewish wedding soup you've ever had. Probably the first time you've ever had. Let's go right to the Instant Pot and I'm gonna show you how to make it. So we're gonna begin with 1 leek. And then chop off that bottom part as well as the leafy top part, and let's just focus on this section. And make sure you rinse your leeks because they have a tendency to get some dirt underneath them. It's completely natural, it's earth in there, and we just want to rinse them out so they're nice and clean. And then chop them up finely. We want a nice, tightly packed ½ cup worth. Now let's take a bunch of scallions, and we're gonna slice them up and divide them into 2 different parts. This is the crunchier, whiter part on this side, and the softer, greener part on this side. And this is the side I want to deal with right now, so let's reserve these and put these aside for later. And now we've also set aside this top portion, the softer part, into a nicely packed ½ cup worth. Now I'm gonna go to my Instant Pot and I'm gonna add in 6 tablespoons or 3/4 of a stick of a salted butter, and I'm gonna turn it on and I give it some heat, and I'm gonna let that butter melt. So let's come down to our control panel and hit the saute button, and then hit the adjust button until we're on the more or the high setting. If it's already there, you don't have to do anything. So now let's get the pot all nice and heated up, and then the butter's gonna melt. And now that our butter's all melted and we have a nice sizzle going, we're gonna add in our chopped leeks and scallions. And we're gonna stir that around in the pot, and we're gonna let it cook for a solid 5 minutes until everything gets nice and soft and cooked up. This is, by the way, going to substitute what we would normally put in matzo balls as the vegetable oil or the schmaltz. It's gonna be this stuff instead as the base. It's gonna be unbelievable. And it smells divine in this kitchen right now. And just make sure we stir and deglaze our pot, which means to scrape the bottom of it with a spatula every so often so nothing really sticks to it. It shouldn't really. You see, it looks nice and good. So after about 5 minutes of this cooking, which it just about is at this point, we're gonna now transfer this into a bowl. And look at how gorgeous that is, guys. It's gonna have this amazing crispy texture to it now, and we've created this amazing butter base that's full of, like I said, crispy leeks and scallions. And this is also really important. Make sure you get every last ounce of the butter that was cooking in the pot along with the leeks and the scallions inside of the bowl that we set it aside, and we want all of that. It's important for the matzo balls. Let's set that aside. So now that we're done with that part of the recipe, I'm gonna turn the pot off. And now let's rinse our pan out, dry it off, and return it to the Instant Pot, and we'll come back to this a little later. So now let's take 4 eggs and crack them into a mixing bowl. I'm using large eggs, by the way, 4 large eggs. Now let's take a whisk and beat them up. I like using a nice deep mixing bowl for this so it avoids any splatter. A little tip for you. Alright, great. Next step. I'm going to add in 1½ teaspoons of kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. And then whisk that all up together nice and good. Alright, next step. So matzo balls would really be nothing without the glue that holds it all together, and that would be a matzo meal. Now this is not to be confused with matzo ball mix. That's completely different. Use matzo meal. You can typically find this in your supermarket in like the Jewish section or the international section, you know, near the gefilte fish, near the potato pancake mix, maybe near the Manischewitz Concord grape wine. You know what I'm talking about. We're going to use 1 cup of this stuff and pour it in. And then whisk that together, and it's going to thicken up a bit. It's becoming very thick now. As you can see, there's a lot of eggs in there, so it's becoming nice and thick. And then just tap your whisk so everything comes out of there, and we're nice and good. Great. Alright, next secret ingredient. Alright, so this next ingredient might seem a bit untraditional and maybe even a little bizarre for matzo balls, but believe me, it's going to set it apart from anything else. You need usually like a seltzer in there to give it a little bit of fluffiness to it, but instead, we like a little bit of ginger flavor. We're going to use some ginger ale. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of it. I know it seems weird, but believe me, it works. And then whisk the ginger ale in really good with all of our matzo meal mixture. And now let's add back in our leeks, our butter, and our scallions. This is why we need the butter in there still, so it's going to add this amazing, like, you know, vegetable oil slash schmaltz-like consistency. And schmaltz, by the way, is chicken fat that's rendered, but we're not using that here. So now let's just stir everything in together nice and good so we have this beautiful mixture and whisk it all together. You don't have to use a whisk either. You can use a mixing spoon. As you can see, it's going to get a little clumped up in the whisk, but we just tap it and it comes right out, and that's what makes it nice and simple with a whisk. Also, it doesn't really stick to it at the end. All right, we're done with this mixture for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a lid on it and we're going to pop it in the fridge for at least 2 hours. We need this thing to really set and get really chilled. All right, I'm popping you in there and I'll be back in 2 hours or more. So while the matzo ball mixture is cooling and setting in the fridge, I'm going to take 2 stalks of celery along with about 4 medium-sized carrots and then chop it up just like that. Look, it looks like art, doesn't it? Fantastic. Okay, so just before I'm about to take out my matzo ball mix from the fridge, and after I've chopped up my carrots and my celery, I am going to go to the Instant Pot and I'm going to add 8 cups of a chicken broth. Now I'm going to add in my carrots and celery, a half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, a half a teaspoon of white pepper, 1.5 teaspoons of seasoned salt, and 1 teaspoon of dried parsley flakes. And let's stir all that up nice and good together. Now we are ready to get our matzo ball mix out of the fridge. And I'm gonna take my lid off of our matzo ball mix and look at that. Completely firm, and it's like a nice, well, very firm texture here. Look at that, it's almost like a putty now, and that's exactly how we want it to be because it's gonna be super easy to roll these into super tiny little balls. So because we're making mini matzo balls and because they expand once they get heated up and cook, we wanna take a half a teaspoon measuring spoon and use that as the scoop to scoop up each size little mini matzo ball. It's gonna help shape each one. So then get in there, and there we go. And now let's just roll it between our fingers and make sure it's a nice size little mini ball, just like that. We can also wet our fingers or use a little bit of vegetable oil to make sure that nothing sticks to it, but it's gonna be perfect just like this. So after we roll each ball, let's drop it inside of the broth. And try to roll up each bowl as smoothly and rounded as possible. It's gonna make for a nice matzo ball when it's done cooking. We want to do this relatively quickly. Don't really take your time doing it, just keep going. And the last one, right inside you go. I probably got about between, I don't even know how many, maybe 30 to 40 of these in there. Now give everything a good stir, stir everything around nice and good. And now I'm gonna add in a 5-ounce bag of baby spinach. You can use a 5 to 8 ounce bag, it doesn't really matter. And then just put all of that on top. Don't stir that in with everything else. And now let's secure our lid and make sure we are in the sealing position by turning it this way, and then hit the manual button or the pressure cook button, which is usually on this side on other models, and adjust the time so we're on 10 minutes on high pressure. That's it, guys. All right, so this step is totally optional, but because I'm really paying an homage to an Italian wedding soup and I want there to be an element of pasta in this soup, I'm going to use not your typical pearl pasta that you would use for an Italian wedding soup, but pastina for the Jewish wedding soup. Mainly because they look like little stars. You see, they can remind you of little Jewish stars, stars of David or whatnot. All right, those have 6 points. These only have 5, but you get the point. We can pretend. Now, I'm not gonna cook the pastina in the Instant Pot, and here's why. This stuff is super delicate pasta. It's super tiny and it cooks super quickly. If we put it inside the Instant Pot while it's cooking, it's gonna absorb a lot of the broth and it's gonna get way too oversized and doughy and not right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna boil this on the stove. It only takes about 4 minutes of boiling in the water while the Instant Pot is cooking, and then when it's done, I'm just gonna spoon the pasta that I want, desired amount, into my bowl of soup. So I've just boiled and strained a 1/4 cup worth of pastina. It makes a lot, guys. It's so tiny and it expands a little bit too once it's cooked, and that's all it takes. I did this separately on the stovetop. I'm not putting it in the Instant Pot, and look at how adorable these little guys are, right? They're little stars. See? They're little tiny little stars. How cute! So now that we're done cooking, let's do a quick release. Now the pin just dropped, so let's take the lid off. And now let's mix everything up, and there we have it. Our delicious and beautiful, look at all the matzo balls floating around in the soup. Look at that, our Jewish wedding soup. All right, we're not done yet, guys. We're almost there, but wow, doesn't that look great? And I told you, the matzo balls expand when they're cooked. They're a little bit bigger than we put them in before, but they look adorable and everything looks fabulous. Yes! And that spinach cooks down into absolutely nothing, as you can see. It goes in there absolutely perfectly. All right, so now we have to add in our final ingredient. I'm gonna add in the reserve scallions from before, the bottom crunchy part, and stir those in there. I'm also gonna take 4 more eggs, and I'm gonna take 2 of the eggs and use them in their entirety, the yolk and the white, and I'm just gonna use the white of the other 2 eggs. And now let's whisk it up. Perfect. So now let's take our whisked eggs and then pour them inside of our soup. And then immediately just start to stir everything up, and you're gonna start to see some egg ribbons forming throughout the entire soup, just like magic. Look at that. I love how that happens. And can we just take a moment to admire this beautiful soup? Look at that. The egg ribbons engulfing just everything in there. The spinach, the mini matzo balls, the carrots, the celery. It's like if the Dead Sea looked like this, I would just have trouble floating in it. I'd be eating it. Let's ladle some of this into a bowl. Get it in there nice and good. Get plenty of broth and plenty of mini matzo balls. Okay, and now if you want to use some of that pastina, let's add some of it into our soup now, and then just mix it in there with it a little bit. And now, this beautiful Jewish wedding soup is ready to get married. But before I try it out, I want to show you, if you guys have any soup that's left over and you're done, you're going to want to make sure you take a slotted spoon of some sort. And it's okay if you get some spinach in there, and you're going to want to put the matzo balls in a separate container in the fridge, because they get really soggy if they just stay in the liquid overnight. So just transfer the matzo balls into a little container, and then we're just gonna put that in the fridge. And then pop it in the fridge. All right, and just pop those in the fridge along with the rest of the soup that you have, and you can just separate the two. Make sure they're separated, and when you're ready to reheat and serve, just put the soup on the stove, boil it a little bit, and then pop the matzo balls in there for a few minutes so they just get heated up, and that's it. And look at how beautiful this soup is, guys. I mean, look at it. The broth, the mini matzo balls, the spinach, the celery, the carrots, the egg, the pastina. It's truly as if an Italian wedding soup and a matzo ball soup got married. And now it is time to try this beautiful Jewish wedding soup out. Oh boy, I cannot wait. All right, here we go. Get a nice little matzo ball here. Melt in your mouth, miracle. Where's my rabbi? Call my rabbi. I don't have a rabbi. The best way to describe this soup is if I was getting bar mitzvahed in Rome. Does that make sense to you? I mean, I'm not even religious really, but this soup, when I taste it, it makes me feel like I'm getting raised up on a chair by 4 strangers and jumping around the room while the tarantella's playing in the background, you know what I mean? But guys, seriously, this is not only one of the greatest soups I've ever made, but one of the greatest soups I've ever tasted. Literally combining a matzo ball soup with an Italian wedding soup, and you have this unbelievable, these adorable matzo balls. Look at them, look at how cute they are. Look at how adorable these little mini matzo balls are, please. Can we just look at them? Absolutely precious. So precious, I'm gonna pop it into my mouth. And they are cooked to absolute perfection. The mini matzo balls, they just melt into your mouth. They have this amazing consistency, just like the little meatballs in the Italian wedding soup, except the mini matzo balls instead. The flavor of the spinach with the carrots and the celery and the broth and the egg and the little pastinas in there. The little cute little stars, how cute are they? Oh man, this stuff is truly what Jewish Italian dreams are made of. And I cannot wait to make this for my dad, who is a huge soup connoisseur. Dad, you have a real nice treat coming your way. Oh man, this soup, this is going to change the game a little bit, I feel like, with matzo ball soup. It's a little bit different. The combination of the Italian wedding soup with the matzo ball soup, it's just something spectacular and very special. Guys, if you enjoy these easy to follow recipes, each and every one of them has a video just like this. Go to pressurelowcooking.com. Tons of recipes from vegan to carnivore, from healthy to comfort. I have it all and more come out each and every week. Also, like my Facebook page, facebook.com/pressurelowcooking. Like it for updates, live videos, tips, pointers, new recipes that come out, the good deals that are coming out on some products you might want to check out. Also, go to my YouTube page and subscribe at Pressure Luck. That's also me on Twitter, Instagram, all that. I got it all. Pinterest. Guys, thank you so much. And if I was Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof, to me, this would be a new tradition. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Jewish wedding soup is quite the catch.